Picture a shark. How does it make you feel? If you are like most people, you are probably afraid of them, remembering the many news stories about shark attacks that populate news networks over the summers. But besides these stories, you most likely don't know much about sharks. Humans and sharks have a short history together. The first known shark tooth fossil dates back about 450 million years, but the first recorded shark attack on a human was in 1749. For millions of years, sharks have existed as one of the top predators in the ocean. Sharks inhabit every ocean in the world and occupy environments as diverse as the shallow coastal waters, the open ocean, the deep, and the ocean floor. Some sharks are adapted to survive in brackish or fresh water. There are a great variety of sharks. They range in size from the immense whale shark, which feeds on tiny sea animals, to the cookie cutter shark, which is only a few inches long. Sharks can be gentle like the nurse shark. They can be extraordinary like the tasseled wobbegong. They can be bizarre like the goblin shark. There are about 500 documented species of sharks. The vast majority do not pose a risk to the average swimmer. Huge fishing operations that suddenly deplete a stable population of sharks negatively affect the oceanic ecosystem for decades to come. Sharks carry an important role as the apex predator. Sharks do not reproduce often, breeding late in their life. Compared to animals like the giant Pacific octopus, which can lay about 100,000 eggs at a time, sharks mature slowly and reproduce at a low rate. For example, the white shark matures sexually at 10 for males and age 16 for females. Great whites have small litters of only 2 to 10 pups. However, their young are born 5 feet long and fully formed, which ensures they have the best chance for survival. These characteristics make it difficult for sharks to recover from a sudden loss of individuals. When a large amount of adult sharks die, it can take decades for the population to recover. Sharks are in trouble. Shark populations, especially great shark populations, have plummeted. Studies have documented the decline in sharks worldwide. There are many reasons why, such as shark fishing, climate change, and accidental bycatch. There was a major study that analyzed the effects of the loss of apex predator sharks off the coast of the Carolinas. Over the course of 3 decades, marine biologists measured the populations of these sharks, their prey, and bay scallops. They observed a severe decline in every shark species: sandbar sharks, blacktip sharks, bull sharks, dusky sharks, scalloped hammerhead sharks, and tiger sharks. These apex predators preyed on mesopredators or middle predators such as skates, rays, and smaller sharks. As the great sharks dropped in number, their prey populations skyrocketed. At the very bottom of the food chain are bay scallops. They are the favorite food of many mesopredators, such as the cownose ray. When the apex predator shark population plummeted, animals such as the cownose ray grew in number. Suddenly, bay scallops were scarce. Fisheries in the area struggled to catch enough scallops to support their businesses. Charles Peterson, a professor of marine biology, said, "This ecological event is having a large impact on local communities that depend so much on healthy fisheries. A healthy, balanced food chain is important for the survival of every species. An oceanic ecosystem transformation, such as the one that occurred after the loss of the great sharks off the coast of the Carolinas, is a tragedy that must be avoided. Shark populations must be preserved. But the media focuses more on high-profile shark attack stories than shark conservation. Two unrelated studies found that newspaper articles are more likely to focus on negative shark stories than subjects such as shark conservation or tourism. A study of newspaper portrayals of the gray nurse shark from 1969 to 2003 focused entirely on Australia. The study gathered together 155 articles from 15 major Australian newspapers and analyzed each article. The aim of the study was to reveal the manner in which Australian news media portrays gray nurse sharks. The study found that while 28% of newspaper articles had a negative viewpoint toward gray nurse sharks, 48% were neutral, and 24% were positive. A second study, Australian and U.S. news media portrayal of sharks and their conservation, analyzed 300 shark-related newspaper articles in both Australia and the United States. The newspaper articles used in the study were published from 2000 to 2010 and sampled from 20 major U.S. and Australian newspapers. The study concluded that over half of the articles focused in on shark attacks. Conversely, only 11% of the articles discussed shark conservation. Brett Meter was the lead author on the article. He was kind enough to agree to an informal phone interview to discuss sharks in the media.
The media is an important source of information for so many people. The media can be very influential in helping people shape their attitudes about wildlife. So sharks have been something that's always been sexy and attractive to the media. Sharks get a ton of attention, but generally that attention is not positive for the sharks. Most coverage about sharks in those publications we looked at dealt with, your shark attacks. So continuing to highlight the negative impacts that a shark could potentially have on a person. You think of things like Jaws that really put sharks into the limelight, and for people who didn't grow up in coastal towns, and even those that did, it certainly influenced people's risk perception about jumping into the water. Shark attacks are such rare instances in the first place, but because they are kind of this scary thing that instills fear in people, and people, might get excited about hearing about sharks, you're getting a lot more of that negative coverage as opposed to coverage that's more conservation-minded.
These studies focus exclusively on newspaper articles. There are no similar studies done for television media, yet it is known that popular movies, commercials, and news networks generally focus on attention-grabbing negative characteristics of sharks. Sharks are displayed as indiscriminate man-eaters. Films such as Jaws perpetuate this stereotype. In this movie, a great white shark terrorizes a local beach community, killing several swimmers before it is taken down. Other popular films do the same. In Sharknado, a storm devastates Los Angeles, leaving the streets flooded and infested with sharks. In The Reef, a great white shark hunts a group of friends in a sinking sailboat. In Open Water, a diving couple is separated from their boat and must survive in shark-infested waters.
It's gonna be okay.
Many shark-related commercials focus on the man-eating aspect of sharks.
Ooh, I think I saw dessert.
But you just had a big lunch.
It wasn't that big.
Steve. Hey, come back here. Steven, stay strong.
What's that? You want me to eat you?
Honey, he didn't say that.
He did, very quietly. You can't hear from back there.
Don't fight your instincts.
We are just moments away from releasing Snuffy, the rescued seal, back into the ocean. And now you see it, Snuffy's triumphant return.
Holy
Shark Week.
peanut butter cups.
But with Steve, I tasted something more. It was peanut butter and Snickers.
You're right.
Yeah, that's
Steve had just eaten Snickers peanut butter squared.
Steve was delicious.
Yeah. I'd love another taste.
Oh, certainly.
Eat both squares, please.
If you like.
Cigarette. 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 Cigarettes. Cigarette. Cigarette.
This Tampax commercial was a joke, and it was not published.
Теперь не протекают.
But it is very similar to this published advertisement. Should sharks really be displayed this way? Jaws was a huge success. This movie is arguably the most popular shark movie ever made. However, the author of Jaws, Peter Benchley, was a shark conservationist.
You are much more likely to be killed by bee stings, falling off ladders, automobile accidents, plane crashes, lightning strikes, attacked by rabid bats, and almost anything else you can imagine than you are to be killed by a shark.
The U.S. averages just 19 attacks each year and one shark attack fatality every 2 years. Meanwhile, in coastal states alone, lightning strikes and kills more than 37 people each year. Shark attacks are serious and dangerous, but people are more likely to be killed by vending machines than sharks. Sharks are feared because of the stereotype that television and movies such as Jaws perpetuate. Sharks are feared because of the way that news media continues to depict sharks in their stories.
There are also more sharks than ever.
One woman looking on in horror.
Here you have in North Carolina 10 attacks.
One has attacked here.
Says attacks are expected to continue to increase.
The jaws are inside the cage.
A great white shark has killed a young surfer.
Sharks they saw this morning and the sharks they saw yesterday.
Shark attacks or shark attacks.
Shark season.
The media gives far too little attention to shark conservation. The reformation of public perception of sharks must begin with dispelling myths and changing the reaction of the media toward shark attacks. Sharks are one of the most enduring predators in the ocean. They have existed for millennia, and yet their existence is being threatened by humans. The portrayal of sharks in the media must change and emphasize the value of sharks in order to educate the public and bring about positive change in the field of shark conservation. The future of sharks and our oceans depends on it.